Oh, hi. Welcome to Salt. That's telling Aspen to keep an eye on the transition stream because we're doing high latency today, or not latency, high quality today. So I don't know if it'll
Ooh,
handle the stream or not.
we don't want too high quality. They'll see all our wrinkles.
Yes, that's the idea. They're going to see all the imperfections because today we're talking about not imperfections. Yeah, so we are about ready to start the school year next week. Tomorrow is like a registration day. I have to be in the office most of tomorrow. And Monday is the first day of school. And we are off and running. Another thrill-a-minute roller coaster ride of emotion school year here at Southwestern Adventist University. Your quality education choice here in Texas. We are
Good job,
required
Brett. I
to
mean,
say that now.
did they?
It's in our contract.
Are they
the
paying
new
you?
contracts, whenever we say Southwestern Adventist University, your quality education choice here in Texas, we're required to say that if we say the name.
No way.
No, I'm just making that up.
Okay, good.
But do you see how she didn't know if I was making it up? See, this is how we need students. So send your child to Southwestern Adventist University. Your quality education choice here in Texas.
Because Brett is teaching there.
Yes, so fun stuff. But we do have, I was telling Sabbath School today, for the first time, I have a good problem. I have 4 cameras and 15 photography students. So this is the first year we've not had enough cameras to cover the students in the class, and that's a good problem to have. So we'll see how it goes. But anyway, so that's the exciting stuff coming up for us next week is
Yes, and I'm going to take a class.
Miranda is taking Christian Theology 1.
Oh, good thing he knows that.
Yes.
I know I'm taking a class.
Christian Theo 1, which, so if you're going to college and you're going to take your religion degree, your theology degree, you generally start with teachings of Jesus, Christian beliefs, stuff like that, history of the Adventist Church, 200 level courses. But Miranda, straight to the top, 400 level senior year course, Christian Theology 1.
Yeah, now, I think I hope I didn't bite off more than I can chew, but, it just sounded like a really interesting class.
Yes. We designed them to sound interesting. It's part of our job here at Southwestern Adventist University. Your quality education choice.
The
Here in Texas.
the teacher is apparently an expert on the sanctuary.
Yes. Yeah. Which I was telling her, get ready, because no matter if you're really, really focused on something in your study in your life, no matter what class you're teaching, you tend to weave it into it. And it's supposed to be a coverage of the 28 fundamental beliefs, at least half of them in Christian Theo 1 and half in Christian Theo 2. But sometimes teachers can get caught on their pet topic and spend most of the time on that. So I hope you don't get stuck in the sanctuary for, an entire semester. Not that the sanctuary is not bad, it's just there are 27 other fundamental beliefs to cover as well.
Yeah,
So,
we'll see.
Hopefully. So I'm sure you'll hear more of that later. But that is not what we're talking about today. Today we are talking about
We're talking about the 10 Commandments.
the 10 Commandments. Yes.
Yes.
Once
And
again,
why?
It was our Sabbath school,
Yes.
and so we're talking about what we talked about in Sabbath school because
Yes.
it's easy to do.
Yes.
Yep. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Salt. Here is Miranda Hadley. Your
Okay.
quality spiritual choice for listening here in Texas. I just made that part up.
Yeah, he made it up. Notice that. Made it up. Okay. Well, first of all, of course, starting off with a story.
Yes.
Yes. Brett doesn't like this story, but we're going to tell
It's
it
a
anyway.
sad story.
I'm going to tell it anyways.
Very sad.
So, obviously, we've talked about this before. We were on a trip this summer and got back, a couple weeks ago
Couple
by
weeks
now?
ago, so yeah.
And while we were gone, the last 700 miles we drove, it kept popping up, some number 613?
A16. I
Oh,
got it memorized
A16,
now.
yeah.
Yes.
So you're like, A16, what's that supposed to
Yeah.
mean?
On
so,
the dash, we have the electronic dash, and if something's wrong with the car, it gives you a
Yeah.
message.
So, as good parents, we involve Aspen in our lives.
That's
And
right.
we said, Aspen in the back seat, of course, hey, look up and see what A16 means.
A16 is.
So she does immediately, of
And
course.
she said it was how many grade A's she was getting this semester, is what she said.
No, it meant, we're due for oil change,
Oil change.
tire rotation,
Yeah.
and differential
Rear
fluid.
differential,
Yeah. So that was kind of, anyway, 700
Yeah.
miles on that, right?
Which
Okay.
none of those are like, it was like
Yeah.
routine maintenance.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyways, as we're driving back, we get behind a big truck. And as occasionally happens when you're driving behind a big truck,
Yeah.
it threw a rock, which landed on our windshield
Yeah.
and gave us a crack.
Yeah.
So we get back, and Brett, of course, takes the vehicle into the Honda dealership, and they do the stuff to it and whatever. And he asked them, well, how much is it going to cost to replace the windshield? And apparently it's going to be very expensive to replace the windshield because it's more than just replacing the windshield.
Yeah, there's apparently the camera is in. The more they make cars fancy, the more expensive they are to fix. So it's not just the windshield, where the rear mirror is and the whole little assembly there. There's a camera, and so they have to orientate the camera once you place the windshield. So they have to go in and place the windshield, and then they have to reset the camera.
Yeah.
Because that's the camera that shows, you're getting too close to a car or the side of the road.
Oh, I think we need a dumb car next time.
We need a dumb car.
Yeah.
I really want a dumb car.
Yes. I want a dumb car too. One of those with the actual 5-speed.
Oh, I'd like a manual.
Things like that.
I would like that.
Yeah. And the backup camera is not really necessary.
No, we got along all this time of our lives without it. It's nice where we live right now, it's nice just because our neighbors across the way have 2 giant cars as well, and so when you back up, it's kind of nice to see. But other than that, I find myself a lot of times not even using it.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't really notice if it's not on.
Yeah.
Okay. But anyways, since it was going to be a lot of money to replace that, Brett decided to check our insurance and see if we had windshield insurance.
Yeah.
And turns out, we bought the vehicle in April.
Yeah.
And we have had no insurance on the car the entire time.
Oops.
And I mean, it's not like we paid for the car and drove it off the lot and they didn't care. Actually, I mean, I even looked it up just to make sure. But yeah, if you're financing your car and you're making payments, you have to show them proof of insurance before you drive it off the lot.
Which we did.
And so I don't know how it happened, but we don't have insurance on our car.
No, and I thought for sure we had done that, and yet, if you saw our last broadcast, I showed a map of all the places we drove on our last trip, all without insurance.
Yeah, all without insurance. Thank goodness we didn't get pulled over, because then you've got a ticket on top of that.
And to Missouri and back on the other trip, that was
Yeah.
also without it.
Well,
and to Omaha and
to
Indiana.
Omaha. Yeah.
Oh my.
Yeah. So that was Thursday, and you tried to get insurance.
Yes.
It did not sound like a happy phone call to me.
It did not go well.
Yeah.
No, only because, I got online and I was just going to do it online, add a car, and then you go through the thing. But the thing was frustrating was you couldn't just go through it and then see how much it was going to cost, for all the different options and stuff, and then go back and just change one thing. You had to start completely over. And I did it 4 times, just going through, I don't want it to be that much, so let me lower this deductible or that, because you tweak it here and there so you can, find a nice middle-of-the-road price. And so I got it, and then when I got to the end, it said, call 1-8777 to talk about this. So I called in, and, I was going to add a car. It said to call you. I did the thing online, the person started asking me the very same questions that I'd gone through on the internet, And she got to the third one. I said, I already did this online. I did all this online for 45 minutes. And she said, yes, I can't see that, so we're going to have to do it again. And I was done at that point. I was like, you know what? No, not right now. No, thank you. I'll continue to drive without insurance.
Yeah, so we took the old car to church today.
Yeah.
It's only 2 blocks away, but all the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's one of those crazy conglomeration of things that happen.
Oh yeah,
And you're just like, how did it happen? How did that happen like that?
yeah.
And so today, as we already mentioned, we were talking about the Ten Commandments and Sabbath school. And so um, there, the Israelites ended up at the foot of Mount Sinai. And Moses went up on the mountain, and God's going to give him the Ten Commandments. And it was covered with dark clouds and thunder and lightning and all this kind of stuff. And he's up there for 40 days. And these people are starting to think that he's probably dead and he's not coming back. And so here's this person that has led them out of Egypt. And what are they going to do now that he's gone? Forgetting, of course, that it's God actually leading them. But you know, it's easy enough to see Moses, and he's the fearless leader and leading them and such. And so they make an idol, a golden calf. So when you think of it, they'd had a pretty crazy last year because it took them a year to get to Mount Sinai, right? Okay, so they've been slaves, and then Moses led them out of Egypt by the power of God, obviously, with all the plagues and such. And then they think they're going to die because the Egyptians are behind them and the Red Sea's in front of them. But then God parts the Red Sea and they cross over and all the soldiers drown in the water. And then they need water and they think they're going to die of thirst, and God provides water for them. And they need food and they think they're going to die again, and God provides that for them. All good things. But what a crazy year. Did they ever say, how did we get here with all this crazy, right? And then the guy who brings them out of Egypt, they think is probably dead. And so they build an idol and they worship it.
Yeah. And don't forget, they were told, don't touch the mountain lest you die. And
Yeah.
here's Moses up on the mountain. And so
Yeah.
that's another reason they probably thought he was dead.
Yeah. And someone in class asked why. Why did they build the idol when God has clearly been providing for them? And I got to thinking about it, and I thought, well, it could very well have been because that's what they were used to. God had done above and beyond for them, and yet making the idol may have been like comfort food to them. What they were used to doing. God was doing a great job taking care of them, but they were really quite used to taking care of themselves.
Yeah. It's very much like when you're on the road and there's so many restaurants and so many things and da-da-da, and you just don't know what to do, and you're so stressed and you're so worried, and you see a Waffle House and you think, comfort food! And you go in and you're comforted, which is about as good for you as eating a golden calf.
Comfort food for Brett, not for Aspen. For those of you who don't know, when Aspen was probably about 6,
Her taste buds were ruined.
she started calling Waffle House Waddle House.
Yes.
And whenever Brett would go, oh, look, there's a Waffle House, she's like, no, not the Waddle House. I don't want to eat
I blame
there.
you for that. You! For feeding her those healthy meals. But she could have enjoyed Waffle House. Anyway.
Anyways, you have a story to tell.
I do?
Yes.
What?
The story of Mott.
Oh. What's the transition? How did we get there?
How did we get there?
Yes. Oh, I guess. Anyway, in Sabbath school, it was about the Ten Commandments. And so Moses does come down, obviously, and he has the Ten Commandments and everything. And so in the lesson this week, it was about covering the Ten Commandments. That's really what the lesson was about. And there's a lot of different ways, if you teach Sabbath school or if you actually follow the lesson and stuff, you can read the lesson and there's different things it brings out in different days. And sometimes we find it a little challenging to get a lot out of the Sabbath school lesson, only because it's written to be general. It's written to be, used by a great mass of people of all over the world with different backgrounds. And so it's kind of general. And so there was a lot of ways you could have gone with the Sabbath school lesson. What we're going to do today for you is what Miranda actually came up with. There was something in it, and she really saw that, thought that was good, and ran with it. But one of the things was about, where did the Ten Commandments come from? What are the Ten Commandments for? What's the purpose of the Ten Commandments? And it's just interesting that, there's a lot going on in the world right now where, legally the Ten Commandments, like here in Texas and Oklahoma, they're trying to force it into the classrooms and stuff. And the Ten Commandments is heralded as the basis of all human morality and everything. And yet, it's interesting to explore the idea, where do the Ten Commandments come from? Because there's a lot of, scholars who will say, hey, the Ten Commandments aren't original. They came from somewhere, they're copies from somewhere else. And in fact, they came out of Egypt. And in Egypt, their goddess of love, no, of justice, mercy, truth, and order is Mot. Well, actually, I think it's Mat. It's M-A-A-T, Mat. And she's the one that you go see in the afterlife. When you die, you go to this temple that, she has in the 2 rooms, and she has a headdress, and on the headdress is a feather, and it's the feather of a goose, it's a goose or a swan, but they think a goose feather. And that's very important to what happens to you in the afterlife. So you die, you go see Matt, and in her temple, in the 2 rooms, they have a ceremony called the weighing of the heart. And so Matt takes your heart, and there's this big scale, and she puts your heart on one side of the scale, then she takes her feather off her headdress and puts it on the other side of the scale, and they weigh your heart. And before that happens, just before they do the weighing of the heart, you go through the 43 exclamations of innocence, or the 43 exclamations of Matt, and it's kind of like their commandments. And in those, each one starts with, "Hail Anubis, god of the underworld, I swear I have not," and each one of the things that go on are specifically related to that Egyptian god. "I swear I have not murdered another person." And so that's one of the commandments. You shouldn't murder, somebody else. So that says, "Hail Anubis, Lord of the underworld, I swear I have not murdered another person." And there's 43 of those that you say to 43 different gods, covering 43 different aspects of living a good life. And 7 of the 10 commandments are in those 43 statements. And so some people say, oh, you see, Moses would have been trained in that. He would have known those. He would have been required to have known those and memorized those. And so, he took the 10 commandments came from the 43 exclamations of Matt. And that's one way to look at it, I guess. But there's also other cultures who had other parts of things that were almost directly, quotes of the 10 commandments, the thou shalt not kill and steal and stuff like that. And then we make the point, well, in the end, going back to the weighing of the heart. So if your heart in the scales is lighter than Matt's feather, you get to go to eternal bliss. If your heart is heavier than the feather, then this half alligator monster eats your heart and drags you kicking and screaming into the depths of the abyss, where there's weeping, wailing, gnashing of teeth, and eternal torment. And that's how it works. But I asked the class, what's the big difference between, the religion of Matt and, the 10 commandments with these other things? And the biggest thing is that these 43 statements are all about appeasing the God. You didn't upset the God. You didn't sin against the God. You didn't, tick them off. Therefore, they're not going to punish you. And almost all of the other religions around the world at the time were like that. They were based on fear or gift and reward. You do for the God does for you. You do for the God, they don't strike you down with lightning. And the difference is the 10 commandments are all based on the motivation of love, loving God and loving others, which was, it's hard to imagine in our world how radical an idea, how radically different that was from everybody. That would not make sense to any other culture. It was like, no, that's not how gods work, and yet that was the basis of the 10 commandments. And so we guys kind of looked at that as, wasn't that interesting about, how the 10 commandments came about, what's the difference between them and the commandments of the other religions of the world, and compare them and stuff. Mm-hmm. And what you find is that the 43 exclamations of innocence, and the other thing are actually, called commands or rules or anything. But that is not what the Ten Commandments are called. They are actually not referred to as commandments.
It's true. Apparently, okay, so the Ten Commandments are found in two books of the Bible, which is Exodus 20 and Deuteronomy chapter 5. It says that neither book in Hebrew uses the term the Ten Commandments. Instead, 3 times it's called the 10 words. The Hebrew word means word, sentence, matter, thing, speech, story, promise, and utterance. And a lot of those words kind of, word, sentence, speech, and such, utterance, those are all kind of follow along in the same thing. But story and promise kind of caught my eye, and I thought, well, what would the story of the Ten Commandments be to us? What would that be? And I thought it would be the story of our relationship with God and the words of God sown into our lives and our hearts, and how do we respond to them? And that is a story of our relationship with God. Mm-hmm. And then how is the Ten Commandments a promise from God? Because we can't live it out on our own, and it is a promise from God to do it for us. Much like, say, Psalm 23, where the Good Shepherd does everything for the sheep.
Yeah.
Everything.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yes.
Am I supposed to jump in there?
Yes, if you would like to, you can.
No, I did. I'm supposed to say something.
You can, if you want to, talk about righteousness by faith there for just a moment, but we kind of did.
Oh, right. So, well, okay. So then I was thinking one of the the questions was what are the Ten Commandments for? What's their purpose? Why are they there? Why did God give Ten Commandments? And there's been a lot of debate. There's been a lot of theological arguments about that. But what tends to happen is the Ten Commandments are people take those like the Pharisees did, and they go, "This is how you live," and you live by the Ten Commandments. Plus, later on, here's all these 350 other commandments we're coming up with as well, by the way. But you live by the commandments, and that's why you're righteous. If you keep the commandments of God, you are a righteous person. And that was not the intent of the Ten Commandments at all. They kind of totally missed the point there. The Ten Commandments aren't for us to, save ourselves by or live by and claim that we are righteous and worthy of, salvation. The Ten Commandments are to show what sin is. They're a mirror to show us who we are and where our failures are and, what our needs are. That's what the Ten Commandments are. So then the lesson does this too. Interesting story I just thought of in my own personal experience.
Oh, okay.
So when I was a child, I walked and spake like a child because that's what children do. But I was a very odd child, and I had this whole stream of real religious fervor when I was young, and I could tell you things that you go like, "Wow, you were weird," and it would be true. But one of the things I did as a young is I wanted to go to camp meeting.
I enjoyed camp meeting.
And it was just weird. None of my family went to camp meeting, and and I just wanted to go to camp meeting. And I was 14, I think, 14 or 15. But it wasn't I wanted to go to camp meeting to the youth tent. I didn't want to go to camp meeting and do the games. And I wanted to go to camp meeting. One, I'd never been to a camp meeting, so I didn't know what it was. But I want to go to camp meeting because that's what good Adventists do, and I want to be a good Adventist, so I'm going to go to camp meeting. Problem was, it was in North Carolina, and I lived in South Carolina. But, lucky for me, my uncle lived in North Carolina, and he lived close by Mount Pisgah Academy, where at the time they held camp meeting. So I went over there, and I don't know what, I was wandering around. He just dropped me off. Now that I think about it, why didn't he take me to like the youth room or the youth tent or something? He just dropped me off.
Probably figured you were old enough to figure it out.
I guess so. I think that was like you can find it. Anyway, I don't know. I wandered around. I ended up in the young adult. Actually, I went to the church. I went to the sanctuary, and that's where young adults were. I'm 14. I'm not really a young adult, but that's where I ended up. And so I just went in there and sat down, and then the speaker was, I don't even remember who it was, but I was pretty enthralled, and I just remember, and he was doing a thing about the 10, that's where I tell the story. He did the thing with the 10 Commandments, and the 10 Commandments being a mirror, which is what our Sabbath school lesson does. But this is back in 1979 or 80, I think. And I just remember that. That was my first real camp meeting, my first real, religious, spiritual meetings that I went to that I was like, wow, that's, and it was about this very topic. I don't know why I told you that. Anyway, the 10 Commandments, husband's like, wrap it up. The 10 Commandments are like the mirror. And like this guy said in his talk, he said, you look at the mirror, and the mirror shows you that, you're dirty, you need a shower, right? He says, what we tend to do as Christians then is we take the mirror off the wall and we try to scrape the dirt and off using the mirror. And that's not what the mirror is for. And his point is that's not what the 10 Commandments are for. They aren't there to cleanse you. They are there to show you need cleansing. And then he got into the, and the soap is this, and the water is the Holy Spirit, and But, I don't know why. Oh, righteousness by faith. That's the role the 10 Commandments play in the whole world of righteousness by faith, is that they're the ones that show you, hey, you need something. That's what they're supposed to be. Whereas the Pharisees took it as, I can do these and I can keep these, and therefore I will be God's favorite because look how good I am, which was not the purpose of the 10 Commandments. As a matter of fact, if you keep the 10 Commandments perfectly, you still have not kept the 10 Commandments, just like the Pharisees.
Right, because then you're sort of doing it under your own power.
And you're not really loving God and loving others, which the Pharisees didn't do.
And that's more of a keeping like the letter of the law. It's easy enough to say, well, I don't have any idols in my house. Yeah. And I've never killed anyone. And I haven't tried walking out of Walmart with a big screen TV and not paying for it. And, you can go along and do things like that and think you're a pretty good person. But it's not about the letter of the law. It's about the spirit of the law, which is the love of God.
Right. Which Jesus said to the Pharisees, you say you haven't murdered anyone, but I say if you hate your brother, you've committed murder.
Yeah. Absolutely. So they all have more meaning than just...
Right. Yeah. And their promises, which is what we, because Miranda had the idea, I thought was a really good idea, was to take the commandments, and because they could be promises, and to rewrite them as promises.
Yes. So these here are short. We'll just do the first two today.
Yes, we're not going to do all 10.
Yeah.
We just thought we'd start today, because we didn't get through all of them in Sabbath school either. The discussion went off, and it was great, and we had lots of time, but we only got through like 3 commandments.
Yeah.
So we're only going to do 2, and we're going to take it week by week, but the commandments rewritten or represented as the 10 promises.
Okay, so Exodus 20 verse 3 is the first commandment. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. And so I thought about it, and I thought the opposite of that is to serve other gods. And one is life and one is death. And the promise here would be salvation. And rewritten as a promise, that would be John 3:16. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believes in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. Yeah. And there was a guy who answered that. I really, really liked his answer. He said that for him the promise was that there were no other gods that could take care of him, like God could do it. The other gods aren't going to take care of us like that. They're like those gods, the Egyptian gods. They're like, serve me, but I'm not doing anything for you. Yeah. Maybe I'll do something for you, and maybe I won't. Yeah. And that was what God was saying. I'm here to take care of you. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I thought that was a lovely way to look at that one.
Yeah, it is. And there was once, I don't know how long ago it was, I remember we were doing something about the commandments, or we were talking about this, idols or something, and you had said something once about, the difference being the other idols take from you, and God gives to you. And you had made that comparison. So I thought that was good. All right, number 2.
Okay, number 2, Exodus 20, verses 4 to 6. You shall not make for yourself an idol or any likeness of what is in heaven above, or on the earth beneath, or in the water under the earth. You shall not worship them or serve them, for I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers on the children, on the 3rd and 4th generations of those who hate me, but showing loving kindness to thousands, to those who love me and keep my commandments. And so God says he's a jealous God. And that is referencing the analogy of a marriage relationship with us, right? Okay, so which reminds me of where Jesus said, well, it's mentioned several times in the Bible, I guess in Genesis as well as the New Testament. Yeah. And Jesus said that the two shall become one flesh. And that has an emotional, spiritual, and physical meaning to that. And God wants our hearts to be one with his. God doesn't worship other gods. He doesn't go to other gods for alliances to give himself more strength. And so why should we? We can either serve the one true God or serve the father of lies. It's, and I really liked, I love Ezekiel 36, verse 25. Then I will sprinkle clean water on you, and you will be clean. I will cleanse you from all your filthiness and from all of your idols. It says that God will cleanse us from all our idols.
And we talked a little bit in class about, what are idols? It's not just the golden calf. Idols are anything that takes the place of God, or idols are addictions. Idols are, things that we hold on to or we cling to that, are bad for us or, take us away or further away from God.
Mm-hmm. And there you go. That's it for today.
For today.
For today, yes.
It's the idea that God says, I will cleanse you from all your idols, not just, and all the little golden calves you have. It's like all the little golden calves you have in your life, no matter what they are. I will cleanse you from all of that, which was really kind of reassuring if you think about it.
It is, because we have idols we don't even know we have.
Yeah.
And he's there to remove those too.
All right, so obviously tons of ways you could talk about it, but that was our kind of take on the first two commandments. So next Sabbath we'll do two more, tell you more embarrassing stories or things that frustrate Brett and how they fit into building his spiritual character. Because that tends to be what we do on this show. Telling stories about, hey, God built Brett's character by giving him this horrible, terrible experience. And we all laughed at him, and it was funny. And we thought we'd share it with you.
It made a good illustration. We usually like to have an illustration like that to help illustrate what we're talking about.
Why am I always the illustration?
I don't know why. And it was the only thing really that had happened.
Yeah.
And
things happened to me.
And so I wrote it out having no idea. I'm like, well, I don't know what I'm going to do with this, but it's the only thing I got to work with. So
happy I could be a resource. So